everyone. I want to take a few minutes to go over the song lyrics that you had to read for last week's discussion. And if you remember, those lyrics were Master of Puppets, written by James Hetfield, Lars Ulrich, Kirk Hammett, and Cliff Burton, otherwise known as Metallica. So, if you were not able to participate in last week's discussion, you can find a copy of the lyrics attached here in the assignment. So go ahead and read through the lyrics and, think about what they mean to you, what you get out of it, what you think they're about, and then you can come back and finish watching this video. So, Master of Puppets. This is a very interesting song, in my opinion, and I thought it was a good follow-up to the song we looked at in week 1. If you remember week 1, we looked at Wanted Dead or Alive, and I talked about how it was an extended metaphor. And if you remember what a metaphor is, it's when we are comparing two things, but not in like using the words like or as, not a simile. We're not saying, A is like B, in that they share certain similarities. A metaphor is when you're basically saying A and B are practically the same thing. The comparison is so strong, the similarities are so strong that it's almost hard to separate the two. And so in Wanted Dead or Alive, the extended metaphor was a musician on the road touring, comparing himself to a cowboy. If you remember, the chorus was, "I'm a cowboy, on a steel horse I ride." And so we went through those lyrics and looked at how that metaphor works from beginning to end, how it sticks through the lyrics. And we have a similar situation here, except even stronger, I think. So first, let's go through and just make sure everybody understands what the lyrics are actually about, and then we'll kind of take a closer look to see really just how skillful it is. So, Master of Puppets is essentially a song about drug addiction. And if you didn't pick up on that, it's okay. But I want to just, show you a few places in the lyrics where it, kind of reveals to us that it's about drug addiction, why we can be certain that that is what it's about. We get some hints in the first part of the song, end of passion play, crumbling away, I'm your source of self-destruction. So any behavior that is self-destructive, it's when, you are making a conscious choice to engage in that behavior or, do that thing that could ultimately destroy you. So I'm your source of self-destruction. So however you're choosing to self-destruct, to hurt yourself, whoever is speaking in these lyrics, whoever's voice we're hearing, the I'm your source of self-destruction, they're embodying that behavior, that activity. So that's one of our first clues. Veins that pump with fear, sucking darkest clear, leading on your death's construction. So we know that, it's not just spiritually self-destructive, it's physically destructive, leading on your death's construction, like you're constructing your own death. Taste me, you will see, more is all you need, dedicated to how I'm killing you. So again, we get this sense that it's more of a literal death. Come crawling faster, obey your master. Okay, so whatever this source of self-destruction is, they have become the master. They rule everything. They are in charge. So it's another clue, very subtle clue that drugs could be the topic here. I think when we get down to the next set of verse after that chorus, needlework the way, never you betray life, of death becoming clear, pain, monopoly, ritual, misery. And then this is really the line that kind of seals the deal. Chop your breakfast on a mirror. So that is a reference to chopping lines of cocaine on a mirror. That is a very pointed example for the topic of this being drug addiction. You get down towards the bottom. Never-ending maze drift on numbered days. Now your life is out of season. I will occupy. I will help you die. I will run through you. Now I rule you too. So, looking at all of those references, it's a pretty safe bet that the topic of the lyrics is drug addiction. And if you didn't get that right away, it's okay. If you did get it right away, that's great. But even people who, read these lyrics or hear the song, they can a lot of people figure out, that it is about drug addiction. And then they just move on. And I think we're doing the lyrics a bit of a disservice by simply moving on. By simply saying, oh yeah, it's about drug addiction. I get it. It's really so much more than that. I don't mean a different meaning. I just mean a deeper meaning. A deeper statement about drug addiction. So, we have two sort of poetic devices being used here. Obviously the first is metaphor. I already referred to that, and we'll look more at that here in just a moment. But the other poetic device that's being used is what we call personification. And personification is when you give human characteristics to things that are not human. We often see it in children's books a lot with animals, right? Animals take on personalities and they have voices, and all of our favorite cartoons as kids, it's personification. But you can give human characteristics to objects as well. You can give human characteristics to ideas or concepts or feelings. Just anything that's not human. We can write about it or speak about it in a way that makes them seem human. And so personification is being used in these lyrics because of who the master of puppets is. The puppet master is the drug. The drug is the one who is speaking most of the lyrics. It's the drug's voice that we hear. So the personification runs from beginning to end in these lyrics. And that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool use of a poetic device and being able to convincingly use it from beginning to end. Right? But so the drug is the master of puppets. Now let's look at the metaphor here. I think we can pretty easily figure out that if the drug is the master of puppets, the drug is the one in charge, the one in control, the one pulling the strings. We get that. But let's go even further and then think about who the puppet is. I think we can get that pretty easily too. The puppet is the addict, right? And it's interesting though, because thinking about a drug as a puppet master, puppets are inanimate objects and they have no agency, meaning they do not act on their own. They must have a puppet master to pull their strings. But in this song, in these lyrics, the puppet does have agency. The puppet does have a voice. When you get down, obviously the towards the middle, the first time we hear the chorus, you might think that the puppet is the one calling out master. But when you get down towards the end, after, right before the last verse, where that starts out, hell is worth all that, natural habitat, the whole chorus before that, the puppet master is still talking at first. You know, come crawling faster, obey your master. Your life burns faster, obey your master. Master of puppets, I'm pulling your strings, twisting your mind and smashing your dreams. Blinded by me, you can't see a thing. Just call my name, 'cause I'll hear you scream. And then master, master, just call my name, 'cause I'll hear you scream. And then we get master quite a few more times. And then all of a sudden it's, where's the dreams that I've been after? If you don't listen closely, if you don't read it closely, you might miss the fact that the puppet is now talking. It's not the puppet master saying, where's the dreams that I've been after? Master, master, promised only lies. Laughter, laughter, all I see or hear is laughter. Laughter, laughter, laughing at my cries. Fix me. That's pretty powerful, but it's an interesting twist though, because it's almost as if the puppet having a voice there, I mean, even though it's heartbreaking, the reality that they're experiencing, it's interesting that they have a voice, because normally a puppet would not, right? So it's almost as if they're turning that idea of the puppet, you know, kind of turning it on its head a little bit, and saying, yes, normally a puppet, you know, has to rely on the master, the puppet master. Otherwise, the puppet just sits there doing nothing, not really existing. But by giving this puppet a voice, you get the idea that the puppet doesn't need the master to live. But because they allowed the puppet master to take control, they are in the situation they're in now. But I think it is just a nod towards, you know, once you hit a certain point in addiction, you really are kind of powerless in a lot of ways. Not completely, but it's hard to find that power. But in the beginning, you were not powerless. And I think it's just a nod towards we make our own choices. And sadly, sometimes they lead us down this type of path where we lose control. And now we are at the mercy of a puppet master. And usually, this is another thing that I think is really kind of cool about this song. Normally when you think about like a puppet show, whether it's hand puppets with the strings or like marionettes, you know, the puppet master is sort of behind the curtains, right? They're unseen, they're unnoticed. If they do their job really well, you don't even think about the fact that they're there. It's very subtle, it's almost secretive, right? They stay in the shadows, they're kind of hidden. And this puppet master is not like that. This puppet master is in your face. Yeah, I'm the one pulling your strings, twisting your mind and smashing your dreams. Blinded by me, you can't say a thing, just call my name, 'cause I'll hear you scream. This guy is not secretive or, you know, subtle at all. It is very, very overt and in your face, basically. He doesn't really care about keeping things secretive or subtle or staying in the shadows. He is perfectly fine letting everyone see that he's the one pulling the strings. He's that secure in his control, in his power, that he'll reveal himself. And I think that's an interesting thing to think about in terms of the metaphor that we have here, and how the lyrics kind of take it a step further in a way. I think one of the things that kind of haunts me about this song is how in your face and aggressive the Master of Puppets is. And that when we do hear the puppet's voice there towards the end, it's gut-wrenching, you know? Fix me. And the puppet master just, come crawling faster, obey your master. But we don't get a very optimistic outcome or outlook. Before the last chorus, what we have is basically references to, death and hell. Hell is worth all that, natural habitat, just a rhyme without a reason, never-ending maze, drift on numbered days. Now your life is out of season. I will occupy, I will help you die, I will run through you, now I will you too. It is not a very optimistic outlook as the song comes to an end. And I think that's one of the things that makes it so powerful, is you get this very real portrayal of that relationship between drug and addict. And it is personified through the metaphor of the Master of Puppets. And it's, if you listen, I think you get a sense of it with just the lyrics, because there's a lot of phrases used in the lyrics and not like full sentences. So you get that it's like almost staccato in a way. It's like very fast words being thrown at you. And if you listen to the song, the music matches that. It's very fast and it's very hard. And it creates this tone that is, I don't even know the word for it. Sad. But it's not sad. Because sad would be more like mellow and, those kinds of tones. This is, I don't know, desperate. It's, it just did not leave you with a good feeling. And we don't get any sense of hope or optimism as the song progresses and then finally ends. It doesn't look good. It almost makes you wonder if the puppet will ever be free of the puppet master, if the strings can ever be severed. And I think that was purposeful, because it is not easy to sever the strings. And so we're left wondering. But I just think it's such a cool use of personification and metaphor, and that there's more to it than just reading it or hearing it and realizing, oh yeah, that's about drug addiction. Like, it's actually saying a lot about drug addiction, though. We get the Master of Puppets pulling your strings, like, yeah, we get it. But if you really take that and go a little bit further with it, man, what a commentary on drug addiction. And I think it's a really cool use of poetic devices. And I'm not sure that that Metallica and other, metal bands like that would, people would recognize them as being full of poetry. But you take away the music, and it's easier to hear and see the words. If you've not ever listened to this song, now that you have gone through the lyrics. You know, if you haven't listened to the song, listen to it and see what you think. See what you think about how the instruments, how the music complements the lyrics. Knowing what we know about the lyrics now. Alright, anyway. I'm sure there's so much more we could talk about with the song, but I think that's sort of the basics of what I wanted to cover with it. And you guys, if you have any other thoughts or questions about it, include that in your journal response, right? And I'll respond to you in my feedback. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say now that you have watched the video. So go ahead and you guys can complete the journal now.